And I'm doing the double line dialer to give you a perspective on how fast it goes and the pickup rate. And I do 5 rings. Those are the settings I'm currently using. You've been watching, you know how comfortable and easy flowing, effortless really it is to call circle prospecting leads or just call random people compared to the FSBOs and expireds or even canceled, because they're just absolutely aggravated and angry at everyone that calls them. Yes, I have listings. Yes, I have pendings, but my goal is to hit 1 million a year. And I just want even this year to be like just explode in terms of money. He recommended going 90 days straight cold calling to generate as much buzz and leads as you possibly can. And then after the 90 days to dial it down to 6 days a week. And then after those 90 days, bring it down to 5 days a week, because you will already have created a lot of business for yourself in that period if you're calling like crazy. I told him today, I said, okay, James, I think I'm ready. I'm going to do 90 days straight, even if it's for an hour on the days that I don't want to call, but I just show up and I make the calls. And he's like, that's all I'm asking for. You can do it. I'm like, okay, fine. And just be like more abundant and not financially struggle anymore, because I'm tired of that. I'm tired. And I will say, being consistent and lead generating has finally allowed me to have more of a consistent paycheck. But I just don't want to still be on that little track of like, call, listing, sale, call, listing, sale, call, listing, sale. I just want to like call and just listing. Yeah, leads with FSBOs. So I feel like sometimes people are like, oh my God, I got a lead. Where a FSBO is like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling, if I don't sell it on my own or whatever. How many times have they actually told that? How many realtors? Like, did they say that to 20 realtors? Now all these 20 realtors think that they have the same lead. Whereas like, it's really funny. Some of the FSBOs I got, they were the ones that called me back and were like, how do I get rid of all these other realtors? Where do I sign? Like, all these realtors sound so bad. Funny. Sometimes they would call me the next day because I was the one who would reach out to them first, like day one when they were on Zillow. And then the next day, they would get all these calls from all these realtors. And so I would actually have my phone handy because I knew what was going to happen. And then they would call me the next day, usually between 8 and 10 a.m. And they're like, what is going on? Why is my phone blowing up? What do I do? And it was so funny. The last FSBO I took, I was like, well, I can make it stop once you sign my listing agreement. And he was like, send it over. And by 12 o'clock, I had the listing by the FSBO because I was the first one to call him. But I don't think I really ever followed up with a FSBO lead to then convert him. A lot of my FSBOs were just right away. And it was usually because I was the first one to reach out to them. Professional, if you know the name of the building. And for any of you who know, when you know condos, you talk to them about, you don't say the address of a condo building. You say the name of the condo building when you're talking to them. You can just say, hey, I'm just calling on your condo at the Regents or Auberge or La Hermitage. And you got to know how to pronounce them. Like if you're a true local, you know the names. You know if there's one tower, if there's two towers. If like you just end up being like a condo expert when you end up doing condos, but you want to talk to them about it. Just Google it. Just search the address. Google will tell you the actual name of the building. I've been learning all about communication skills on YouTube, and Vin from Australia, Vin Jiang. I learn a lot from him on YouTube. And so when I'm talking to people in a particular neighborhood and I'm getting a feel for the people, then I kind of adjust. You have to be like a chameleon when you're talking to people. And I was talking to Blake from my inner circle yesterday when we were cold calling together earlier in the day. And he said, or was it later? I forget. Elaine?
Elaine, calculus.
We were talking about how sometimes when you don't get a lead, you can feel, oh, something's off. It must be my tonality. And you have to check yourself. Because sometimes the way that, hello, Jean.
Please leave your message.
Sometimes the way that you're saying it is what's throwing people off and you don't know it. So sometimes if you're like, God, I didn't get any leads these last couple days, that should be a mental check for yourself. Like, okay, I got to switch something up. Maybe I'm a little too hyper. Maybe I'm talking too fast. Maybe I'm not pausing enough to allow them to answer me. It's something, and you have to switch. So that's why I always say what I say is constantly evolving. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say next week. I don't know what I'm going to say 6 months from now. So you're constantly changing, but at the end of the day, just have fun. It's not that deep. They don't know who you are. You're a complete stranger interrupting their day. So have some empathy. If they yell, shout, say evil things, just hang up. Just hang up. Hang up. Hang up. Protect your energy. Protect your vibe. Protect your mental state, because this is a long-term game and you have to mentally stay in it. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did obviously change my voice, and the way she answered, I was like, oh, I can't come off aggressive. So pay attention to the way people answer the phone. So they're like, yeah, what is this? Then you got to match that. Like Ben says, match them where they're at and then bring them in to where you want them to be. Have you guys ever heard of, this is the best way I ever heard it, from Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy from that book, The Gap and the Gain? Your eyes see and your ears hear what your brain is looking for. And so I started telling myself, I need to find realtors who cold call, who are super successful. In fact, I was also looking for people who do it by themselves, who are not on a team, because I don't want a team. And I did. I started searching and Googling. I found a 30-year-old out of Utah, outside of Salt Lake City. He's not in Salt Lake City. I think he's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Salt Lake City. And he has a family, young ones, and he's making $1 million a year. It was so funny because it was some Facebook realtor group and people were complaining about the whole lawsuit and like, how am I supposed to make money? Blah, blah, blah. And then he jumped in. He's like, well, I make more than $1 million a year. And I was like, boop, found him. And then I Googled him and I saw all his numbers. I'm like, sure enough, no team. It's just him and his wife. And they're making $1 million a year. Found my mentor, James Mitchner, who makes more than $1 million a year. Hello, Ricky Caruth. He's made more than $1 million a year, many years, straight, primarily from cold calling, getting people's emails, and has a whole email campaign thing. So I do have my email separately. So at least it helps people, for me to stay top of mind for my leads. So yeah, once you start realizing like, hey, there are so many realtors out there who actually cold call. And the biggest thing was for me just to leave the brokerage, like me just to leave the office, because you're going to get a lot of negative Nancy's. And you would be surprised how many realtors actually cold call secretly. I started talking to realtors and my other brokerages before I left. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking about cold calling. I'm starting to cold call. Every single one of them was like, that's how I started. That's how I built my business. Now I'm just referrals. Now I don't have to cold call anymore. And one of them was like, that's the way to do it. Just call everyone. The FSBO's expired. It's like, that's really actually, oh my God, get this, guys. So I called, like, I think it was last year. I called a $5 million expired listing because I was like, I have nothing to lose. I might as well just call. I had called. I looked up his phone number because it had just expired. It wasn't in Vulcan or Mojo or anyone yet. It had just expired. I was nervous to call. It literally took me 4 hours to get the energy to call the $5 million listing. I called him. He was very nice, cordial. We talked for like 15 minutes. And I said, oh, I'm sure I'm the first realtor. And then he said, no, you're the fourth. And I was like, what? And then he started naming and telling me who was calling him. And he gave me the names, the 3 other people. And those 3 other people are like big dogs. They're huge. They sell like hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And they're like huge luxury agents. And I realized, I'm like, oh shit, they cold called too. They cold called too. He just told me who cold called them. It's such a secret. I was so like, it was almost like a moment of, aha, I caught you guys. You do call, cancels, expires, and FSBOs, but none of you say anything. They probably just do it from the comfort of their own home, like not in the brokerage, and they don't tell the broker. It's like you don't tell anyone. It's like a huge secret. Yeah, Sergio said, I've learned more about getting business from watching you, and it's been working. I actually got my first lead today. Holy moly, Sergio. I'm going to send the business card and thank you letter. Yay! You're very well. That's so, oh my God, that is so amazing. 0 leads. Sometimes you get 1. Sometimes you get 2, and sometimes you get more. So congratulations. Just be consistent. Just dabble little by little, build your business, stack up the leads. Soon they'll all start popping off, and then you'll be like, what the hell? It's gonna be beautiful. It is going to be beautiful. So congratulations. And we'll count that as a lead. Let's go ahead, and it's so funny. Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if I hung up. And they're like, what the hell? Okay, cool. So, yay! Yes, congrats, ladies. Noelle said congrats. Boom, exactly. It has been, how long has it been? Where's my dialer? 49 minutes, 11 conversations, and 1 lead. Let's go. Thank you. I know she's not a coach, but the value you get from her streams is insane. Oh my God, Sergio, that is so sweet. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm just showing you what I do day in, day out, and what all of us, cold callers, just circle prospecting, just have conversations. Don't be pushy. See how you can help, be of value. So for her, I'm going to mark her as a lead. I'm going to text her my info. I'm going to send her my handwritten note card. And then in 10 days after that, I'm going to text her and say, hey, did you happen to get my handwritten note card? Cool. So let's move on. Yay. Oh, actually, she was my 12th contact. Okay, cool. It's been 53 minutes, 1 lead. Let's keep calling. All right. Yay. And you know what? Even if she said, what is she saying? Like, not in the next 3 years, that's fine. You do not take that for face value. You'll be surprised how many all of a sudden realize that they want to sell sooner, especially if you keep them up to date on the market. Like if they're in a neighborhood or a condo building and the condos are actually selling, and maybe it's a price that they didn't expect to get, when they're like, oh my God, that's selling for 600,000, like mine is similar. That means I could get it. And then they become more and more serious. So most of my leads actually end up listing before their timeline. Very few have I had where they postpone it. But whatever pain and motivation that they have, you never know if something changes, something gets accelerated, maybe a job relocation they weren't anticipating. Fine, if she said 3 years or somebody said 5 years, cool. I'll just follow up with them every so often. And then when you talk to them, they generally end up updating you like, hey, we're kind of thinking about maybe this fall instead of next year. Then you're like, oh, okay. So just keep following up with them. Yeah, I definitely didn't add them to my contacts. I'll have to do that when I get home. Perfect. Do that. And it's great because then when they call you, they're already in your phone. And then the best part is when you say their name, they call and you're like, hey, Dina. Hey, Brian. Oh, hey, David. That makes them feel super special. I actually learned that when I used to work at a call center, because I used to get people to call me back via phone number, and then I have to go into my computer and like quickly put their phone number to know who it was. And I'd be like, oh, hey, Gail. And they're like, oh my God, you know who I am. Because I used to talk to so many people in the call center. So I realized that if you put them in your actual phone from the get-go, and then you start texting them, and then they call you out of the blue. Like that one guy I had who texted me yesterday who wants to talk about selling. He was in my phone since February of 2024, and he already wants me to come over in 2 weeks to talk about listing his property. Because he had already reached out to me, I already knew who it was, and he was already saved in my phone, which was pretty cool. And I could see, obviously, the text message thread between him and I and all the market updates that I had for him. Where'd my water go? Oh, crap. Make sure to have water with you. Lozenges are great. Don't do cold water. It'll tighten up your throat. I just do room temperature. I know Jeremy Miner talked about hot tea. I'm not a hot tea person, but I definitely just do room temperature water. You would be surprised how dehydrated you will get when you talk for hours on end. And that's usually when I start getting like a frog voice. I'm like, my vocals. I'm going to text my husband, see if he can bring me the water. Next. So I'm at 14 conversations and 1 lead. I will take it.
Okay.
Huh?
I couldn't find your other.
Oh, you couldn't find it?
Oh, I think I get this
yeah,
one.
you can take that one. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you know what? So one of you has actually left me a comment on one of my other videos. It was shout out to realtor Nancy Sells. Asked me, hi Adela, how do you keep track? What systems do you use to stay on track when you have a pending transaction? Really great question. I actually have my transaction coordinator. She is the one who keeps me organized. More importantly, she knows way more than me. She is ahead of me on like follow-ups. And it's funny because it took me a while to stop stepping on her toes because I didn't want deadlines to fall through. And then she would email me, would say like, hey, I already sent that email, or hey, I already followed up with that. And I was like, oh shit, I really got to let her just do her job because she is a professional. I listen to a lot of books, Audible. I don't have time to actually like read a book. My kids make fun of me, but I listen to a lot of books. And Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy have a really great book. It's called Who, Not How. And so if you're ever looking for like an assistant, a VA, or someone to do some kind of job, you do not want to hire someone and train someone because then you'll eventually end up firing them. What you want to do is find a professional who knows more than you in that field and hire them. So like if you were to get someone to edit videos for you, you want to get an editor who already knows how to edit. If you want to get a person, even a personal assistant, you want to get a person who already has experience being a personal assistant. Or in this case, for me, I found a transaction coordinator who knows way more than me, and I didn't have to train her. So that's actually how I keep track of my pending transactions. It's absolutely wonderful. Once I negotiate the offer, then I just show up for the inspection, and I show up for the appraisal, and I show up for the closing. And I tell my sellers too, I say, I have a transaction coordinator. Her name is blah, blah, blah. Once we go under contract, you're going to start seeing emails from her, and she keeps everyone organized. It's kind of like herding cats. She makes sure no deadlines are missed, and she keeps like the lender involved, the title company involved. You'll see emails from her. So that's actually the best thing that has helped me. Yes. And the beautiful part is that a transaction coordinator, you do not have to pay until you make money. So there's no money up front. You don't have to pay them hourly. So I have had deals that fell apart and I didn't pay her, but that's part of her business. She knows that 80% of the transactions, not just me, but other realtors that feed her, because she's based on volume. She knows 20% of those deals don't work out. And she knows that. So I pay her after I get a paycheck. So it's been beautiful. Especially if you're new, I would highly recommend looking into it. I know there's some kind of company out there that is, I think, out of the Philippines that supposedly does national, and they get transaction coordinators for agents specific to state and they know like the rules and stuff. I haven't done that. But thankfully I got a recommendation for a transaction coordinator in my area. So it's been wonderful, but I would highly recommend looking into one. Don't just pick one randomly out of nowhere. You want to preferably get a referral from someone. Here we go. Hudson Post says, what times do you feel are best for calling? So I primarily circle prospect, and I love calling either between 10 and 12, 2 and 4, or 4 and 6. Those are generally the best times that I've experienced for people to answer their phones. And it is 5 o'clock for me in Eastern time. So I know I've mentioned to some of you who are either part-time, maybe work full-time, if you can even call from like, just, especially if you're new, just start slow, do 5 contacts a day, just 5 for 30 minutes. Just do it from 5:30 to 6, because more importantly, you want to get used to Mojo and the system, or whatever system you choose to try out. You just want to start slow, little by little, because the biggest thing to be to like experience the compound effect is to be consistent. And I have been consistent since September 6th of 2023. I was not consistent from January to September of 2023. Unfortunately, that was the worst year of my career. I only made $15,000. And I've had to live off of my 401k, my IRA, my savings, my retirement to make this work. I have 15 conversations. Wow, in an hour and 9 minutes. That is pretty awesome. So just, I guess, to give you perspective, like people pick up during this time. But consistency is key for sure. Hello, Crazy in Colorado. What do you do for long-term follow-up? Just occasional market updates and more? Yeah, pretty much. Had started like every single time I would call someone and give them a market update, but then it just became too much. So then I just kind of dabbled and mixed it up, where sometimes I would just have conversations with them, or sometimes like you really just want to get in front of them sooner rather than later. So if they are going to sell like in a year or two, I would just go like, hey, I am going to be in your neighborhood later this week. I was just curious if you'd be opposed to me like stopping by one day just to meet you, because, you know, even if you do decide to sell in the future, who knows, maybe you won't like me. Ha ha ha. And they kind of laugh, obviously. And they're like, yeah, most of the time people are open to you stopping by, especially if you followed up with them. Then they're kind of like, oh, I kind of know you. Yeah, no worries. Like you could totally stop by. So stopping by, doing a little icebreaker, maybe even sending them a handwritten note card, just if it's been a while, like, hey, hope you're doing well. Let me know if you have any questions or want to chat about the real estate market, and then just like send them another business card if you feel like it. I actually just did that today for someone I've been following up with because they are out of the country and I don't have that other address and I don't have their cell phone. It was just one lead that I met one day when I was doing a showing at one of my listings, and I met them by the pool and they're like, hey, we're thinking of selling fall of 2024. And so I gave him my business card. So I just like send him cards every quarter. So I just kind of mix it up. This is like my little makeshift desk. And I was just saying, like, all you really need is your laptop and a phone. Just laptop and phone. I highly recommend when you do your dialing session, put it on do not disturb, because you will be surprised how many people actually call you back. You do want to protect your phone number from going spam. So if you do Mojo, make sure to whitelist it the way that they recommend. There's like instructions on how to do that. But it does also help sometimes to even answer the incoming calls. So when I get those incoming calls, it's really funny because obviously I don't know who they are, especially if I'm not near my laptop. And I'll tell them, I'll just answer. I'm not going to say, hi, thank you for calling, Adela, blah, blah. I'll just be like, oh, hello. And they'll like, hey, did I have a missed call? I'm like, oh, yeah, my name is Adela. I'm actually a realtor. I was calling you about, calling you early. I figured you're not planning on selling. Shockingly, a lot of those end up being wrong numbers. I don't know why, but they're like, oh no, wrong number. Who are you looking for? Like, no, wrong number. I'm like, okay, bye. So we're dialing again. Oh, I have some more questions. Hudson Post. Hey. Thanks. I have been circle prospecting on Mojo. Also, I've been licensed for 4 months. Congratulations. I have a full-time job, also doing other lead gens. Just curious, how long did it take to go full-time real estate? Unfortunately, I didn't really have much of an option. I moved to South Florida without a job, and my husband and I were like, okay, well, we have some savings, and it's just like, this has to work. I've been doing this for 4.5 years, and my first 2 years were buyer heavy. And then because of the whole real estate lawsuit, that was approved, and obviously the whole real estate industry has been turned upside down because of it. I knew that was coming, and I was like, I told my husband about it, and he was like, holy crap, you got to get on the listing side before all hell breaks loose. So I strategically made sure to do that. And in 2023, I had so many buyers that I had been working with for a while. I had a lot of my deals fall apart in 2023, and that was the year I was trying to figure out how to do cold calling, and I decided to figure out how to do YouTube. So I was just like doing way too much, and that's when I only made $15,000 a year. That was my worst ever. But we put kind of YouTube on the sideline because this is my second channel. And then my other channels, I just really use it now as a tool for where I do like my walkthrough videos for all the listings that I do. But then I was like, I'm going to cold call. This has to work. I'm going to make it work. I gave up on FSBOs and expires, even though I got like 7 listings from it. I was like, this isn't enough to like support our family. Just circle prospecting. I went like a mad crazy person. I was calling 3 to 4 hours a day, even though you may think that's not a lot, it is mentally. And when I was trying to figure it out, but thankfully I started getting listings, and they started coming. And so for at least 2024, I got back on my feet, and I ended up with 101,000 GCI last year. So I'm like, woo. But the great thing is that it's really like a snowball effect. So for just Q1 of this year, I've already made more than $100,000. And so my mentor's like, I'm probably on track to make 300,000 this year. I know I may be crazy. That's actually why I'm deciding to go 90 days straight of cold calling, because I want to go like pedal to the metal, go big or go home. And I'm going to see if I can get to 400,000 this year. But my ultimate goal is to build up to where I do $1 million a year. So that's where I'm headed. There's no other option. Will you be using the 25,000 contacts from Mojo all year long, or will you be purchasing more from a different source? I will not be purchasing from a different source. I still have so many leads to keep calling, and I got that original list from August of last year, and I just paid that one time $50. So I'm still working. Make sure to be cordial and professional and thank them for your time. Let's see. Thank you. I'm on listening. Hey, yes, transaction coordinators are the best. Absolutely recommend doing it from the beginning, because when you're new and you're trying to figure out how to handle a transaction, it can be very overwhelming, very stressful. And if you have someone who knows what they're doing, it makes your job even better, and it takes a lot of distraction away from you. Thanks for answering my question. You're very welcome. Once they become a lead, put it in your phone, text them, send a handwritten note card. 10 days after that, follow up, text them, see if they got the handwritten note card, and then just start nurturing them from there on. Put them in your phone manually. I did the mistake of, I used API Nation. That is a third-party connector that you can use to connect softwares. So I did that between Mojo and my iPhone, and I realized the data wasn't transferring 100%, and I was getting aggravated. And sometimes it would take like 24 hours to get the lead onto my phone, which I thought was stupid. You know what? Let me just get the lead, put it on my phone really fast, send them a text, and make sure to send the handwritten note card. If you can even maybe like on the weekend downtime watching TV, whatever, just start like handwriting some cards so you have them handy. That would be great. I'm in California, by the way. Crazy. Did you know I'm originally from California? I am born and raised Cali, Central Cali, San Joaquin Valley to be exact. Central Valley. And I lived in LA, West LA, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica. Crazy in Colorado. I've been licensed since 2017, focused on being a transaction coordinator from 2019 until now because of life. Oh my God, that's actually super amazing that you have transaction coordinating experience. I have an awesome tiny team taking care of clients, and I'm ready to pivot back into sales and know so much more now. I bet you really know the ins and outs of transactions. That is funny. I've actually thought about that because I was thinking this, the transaction coordinator of mine, she has this like family business, and it's her sister, and her two girl cousins. So it's like 4 women. The answer like, hello. I'm like, oh, hell no. I just hang up. I'm like, I'm not doing this today. No, thank you. But yeah, so anyways, my transaction coordinator, she has her company, and she's super great at what she does. But I'm always curious if she sees like all those big checks coming in from all the realtors that she helps, that she's like tempted to do real estate instead. But that's actually really exciting that you're deciding to do it. So I just primarily do majority of my business from circle prospecting. In fact, I actually just got a $1 million condo. She called me after a year of following up with her. We're doing photos Monday. And then yesterday, I did this live, and then like 10-15 minutes later, another homeowner texted me and's like, hey, I'm getting ready, prepping my house to put on the market, seeing who could help me. And so I had a conversation with him today, and he wants me to come over in 2 weeks to talk about selling his home. So circle prospecting is very rewarding because they're the ones who reach out to me. When they're ready, they're like, hey, Adela, can you come over? Let's talk, which is the total opposite than like a FSBO or expired, where you're just like chasing them. Crazy in Colorado said, I'm just relearning all of the sales and people part of it. There's a lot to learn. I would say I'm still learning. I learn a lot from YouTube. A lot of the people I listen to are Benjamin Dennehy. He's the most hated UK sales trainer or something like that. I listened to Vin Jiang from Australia. He's a communication guy. He's taught me a lot about pausing. I like Jeremy Miner. He has great tactics, especially me holding back from speaking over people. So you'll see me do a lot of this. And that's literally me physically holding myself back from speaking and interrupting. And I've also learned from Jeremy to go, yeah. Because as salespeople, we think like building rapport. If someone says, oh, I have teenagers, you go, I have teenagers. But that just interrupts their brain and their like thinking, their flow in their brain. So if you just go, it allows them to keep. I had to learn as a salesperson, maybe it was Jeremy Miner I picked this up from, or somebody else, but as salespeople, we do not want to be the one speaking. The person in control is the person asking the questions. So we ask the questions, they answer, and we got to let them talk. Another one here, is it Feek Tillery? Does Mojo provide skip tracing? Mojo does have a skip tracing feature. I have never used it, although people in my inner circle do use it, and they I know people who have used it and they like it and they think it's really great. So they do have it. I think it's $50 a month. But you basically like load up names and addresses, and then it spits out a phone number or something. And I've heard it's pretty accurate. I just have never used it myself. All I'm really doing is having conversations with totally random strangers. And it's all about how you speak to people, your tonality. I have heard Ben Jiang from Australia and even Jeremy Miner talk about how your face is your remote. So if you ever notice me making faces, it's not, I do that on purpose, like pretending you're confused. Like I know, I think Jeremy Miner goes like this, like, do you have the wrong number? Because if you do your face like that, it really controls your tonality. And then I think Ben talks about, how does he call it? Like, don't ask a question where you go up. You want to ask, Jackie Kravitz, actually. I did her program for like 3 months, but then I was like, it's not my thing. So I stopped her program, and she was the one who originally taught me about the inflection. So when you ask a question, don't go, are you thinking about selling? Go, oh, you're not thinking about selling, like down, like you really don't care. And Jackie, I remember her saying something about like your chin. Like, so if you want to practice that, it's about putting your chin down. And especially when you ask people if they're thinking about selling, do not ask them in an excited voice, because that just comes off creepy and salesy. Like, oh, you're not thinking about selling, right? Then they're like, no. Or they'll be like, yes, I actually am. Then you're like, oh, okay. And don't get excited either. Just as like my approach is like, oh, I'm assuming you already have a realtor, and let them correct me. Then that's when they go, no, not really. And that's when I know I have a lead. Where was I? Claudio Pena. Hello. Do you ever leave a voicemail? I don't. You've been in real estate long enough, especially if you work in your own market, you start to recognize who the realtors in your neighborhood are. And it's so funny because now it's like, I know where most of them live. I'm like, oh, you live there. Oh, you live in a condo. Oh, you live in a townhouse. And then sometimes I'm like, hey, you don't even live here. They like live on the outskirts or something, and they claim to live in a neighborhood. I'm like, hey, you don't live here. You tell people you live here and you don't. That's kind of shady. Or maybe it's an investment property. I don't know. But when I see the name of a realtor, I'm like, run away. All right. We're at 17 conversations, an hour and 32 minutes, and 1 lead. I try to say people's names. I'm pretty good at it, actually, because I've just seen so many. Or sometimes I pretend to be confused. Thank you. New follower here. Oh, well, welcome. Just discovered your content. I'm motivated to make calls. Excellent. Well, feel free to binge watch. I always keep saying it's consistency. So if you are starting new, don't throw yourself in. Like, you have to first get used to the system. I use Mojo. If you're new, just start with a single line dialer. You can get a lot from that. You want to protect your number from going to spam. Make sure to whitelist it with Mojo. There's instructions, a whole little paragraph on how they want you to whitelist your number. And I also record my calls. Mojo has a feature for $25 a month where I record all the initial calls. So that way, if somebody were to go, be upset and crazy and try to sue me or something, I'm like, whoa. Yeah. I told you who I was. You chose to have a conversation. I told you you could hang up if you wanted to, and you didn't. So you have no grounds for coming after me, because I am a straight shooter here. And you'd be surprised how many homeowners are so happy that end up doing business with me. They're like, oh my God, and to think you cold called me. Thank you so much. Like, you're such a professional. I'm so happy. I don't know what I've done without you. And what other shady realtor I would have ended up hiring and not knowing. So just knowing that I'm here to help, and more importantly, save them from really bad realtors, I'm like, I'm going to keep calling. So welcome. It's nice to see you. Feel free to ask any other questions or comments. Jordan. All right. Jordan Caballero. Unless you speak English, Caballero, but I speak Spanish and Swedish. Keep up the grind. Thank you so much. It was very hard for me to overcome doing cold calls. Consistency for sure is key. Start small. If you're new, just do 5 conversations a day. Just 30 minutes. If you work full time, just do it a little bit after work from 5:30 to 6. Or if you do a late shift, because I used to do late shifts where I would work from 12 to 9 or 10 to 7, then do it in the morning. And then on the weekends, do it for an hour or 2 on the weekends. But just start dipping your toe in the water, I would say. Especially if you already have a job and you want to get a database or start stacking up leads. Because once they start popping off and you have momentum and you have the compound effect, it's a beautiful thing. Rachel, Realty, Florida. I'm a Miami realtor too. Well, I will say I'm a Fort Lauderdale realtor. I don't go to Miami. Miami, honestly, it's an hour, and with traffic, it can be too. So much for letting me know you're in Miami. I actually, I just did a referral to someone for a lead in Miami because I was just like, I'm sorry, I don't do Miami. I have children. I am married. I have my house. My mother is here now, and I have to stay close to home. I used to spread myself to my current mentor. He asked me, he's like, what's your population in Fort Lauderdale? I'm like, 100,000. He's like, you absolutely have no business doing anything outside of Fort Lauderdale. I was like, oh. He put me in my place. I was like, okay. And ever since I started doing that, it's been wonderful because even homeowners are like, I want to deal with someone in my neighborhood. You live down the street, you live here, you've been here, you know everything about it. But to answer, do you use a CRM? I use Mojo. I use Mojo for everything. Once you start having way too many systems, you start getting completely confused. And if you've ever heard that saying, simple sells, fancy fails, it's kind of the same thing. So I chose to cancel all my other programs that I used to pay for. And I just strictly use Mojo. So Mojo is my tracker. Mojo is my CRM. Mojo is my dialer. Mojo records my calls. I keep all my data in Mojo. I keep my notes in Mojo. And I run a tight, slim business. So I use Mojo for as my CRM. I've designed it to be my CRM. I'd love to know how you organize Mojo to use as your CRM. I've tried other CRMs, but I want to simplify, and they're a lot. If you know Mojo, there's 2 ways you can kind of organize your information, either through groups or through lists. I have, when I pulled all my neighborhood search data, I put them into lists according to a neighborhood. So I know I can call certain neighborhoods, and I know really where I'm working. Hello? Okay, bye. So if I know, okay, I need to do follow-ups this week, then I pull up this week's folder, and then I'm like, oh, I have 10 people I have to follow up with this week. And then I'll just go through it. And then one by one, I'll work that lead. And then if I don't finish, it takes off pressure where I'm like, okay, as long as I complete it by this week. Because at first I started using their calendar feature where it was daily. And then I was getting all these task alerts, and it was too overwhelming. I was like, I will do my follow-ups when I can do my follow-ups. So I just have them in lists a year and know who I have to follow up with when, and my leads don't get lost. I don't lose track of my leads. Don't have a hot lead list. I don't have a warm lead list. I don't have a cold. 5 closed sales this year. I have 5 active, but 2 are about to go. Well, I feel 3 are going to go pending this week because I've been negotiating 2 of them. And then one of them, the third one, they told me that they want to put an offer and they're going to talk it over, whatever. So 5 will go to 3 pending. And then I also have 3 lease listings. And the only reason I don't necessarily help people who want to rent go and find leases because the majority of tenants will just reach out to the agents directly. But a lot of my clientele, 80% of them are like absentee owners, I guess, or like mom and pop landlords where they just happen to have multiple properties. So sometimes I'll help them sell one and then they'll contact me and say, hey, can you lease this one out? Or maybe a friend like, hey, I have a friend who wants to lease a house out. Then I'll do those. So I do have 3 as well. And then I just took another listing. It's $1 million condo. We're doing photos for that on Monday. And then yesterday I got another homeowner who reached out to me and said he wants me to come over in 2 weeks to help him list that house. So it's just at this point like a revolving door for me. Thank God. I love that simplicity without letting anything fall through the cracks. CRMs have been way too much for my workflow. 100%. I've had multiple CRMs and like websites even. And they're just like way too fancy. It's just too complicated and it's expensive. I'm like, I'm trying to like maximize my profit here. So, and it's funny because I know some of the agents and friends that I have who are realtors, they even do like follow-up boss, and I've been tempted to do follow-up boss, but I'm like, yeah, but then if I do follow-up boss, then I have the same lead in 2 places. And how can I make sure that they don't fall through the cracks? And I know there are some little features on Mojo that you can try to automate. Even like my mentor has shown me, and it was so funny because I asked him about something. And I was like, yeah, but how do you know those leads don't fall through the cracks? And then he showed me and I'm like, see, like, how do you know when to follow up with that? He's like, oh, it's supposed to have a tag. And so then, but it wasn't his lead. I think it was like his assistant or something that was supposed to do something. So he's like, oh, I better get on her on that. But that just kind of feared me. I'm like, I rather just do it manually. So I know it gets done. And yeah, just kind of moving them along. I feel it's nice. It's just like moving them along like, okay, you want to talk in a month? Let me put you in next month's folder. Okay, I'm at 17 conversations. Yes, all from circle prospecting. It's amazing because they end up being my leads. I'm like almost the only realtor that talks to them because I ask them. It's a qualifying question for me when they become a lead. If they have a realtor, I don't ask them, do you have a realtor? But when they indicate to me that they are thinking about selling, no one rolls out of bed and decides that they want to sell. It's a planning situation. Like it takes months to years for them to want to sell. So when they tell me that they want to sell, that's when I say, oh, okay, well, I guess when that time comes, you probably already have a realtor. Of course, we're in South Florida, so everyone's a realtor here. And so I just tell them like, oh, so you probably already have a friend or family member you would turn to, who would help you sell. And then they'll usually correct me. And either they'll say, yeah, my mom, yeah, my sister, yeah, my neighbor, yeah, my best friend from college, whatever. And I don't push it. I'm like, oh, that is so sweet. Total respect. Remember to be nice to people. If otherwise they'll tell me, no, I actually haven't thought about it that far. No, I actually don't have a realtor. Then that's when they're a lead and I just keep following up with them. But more importantly, from circle prospecting, I follow up with them for so long that when they're really ready, they end up calling me, which is mind blowing. And I feel like I'm not chasing them. I've just been providing them with value, keeping them up to date on the market. And yeah, they call me and it's a beautiful thing. It's like listings falling out of the sky. So I absolutely love, 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 love circle prospecting. And they're not that mean. FSBO's expireds are so mean. Nigel, hello. Hey, great videos. What's your approach for listing appointments? Do you have a script or framework you follow? I don't, which is crazy because I tell people in my inner circle, I'm like, you guys, if I went up against another realtor for a FSBO or expired or canceled listing appointment, like I would suck. I would lose. I have no presentation. Because they are nurturers and they already know who I am. A lot of the times, well, I shouldn't say a lot of the times, maybe 50% of the time, gosh, maybe not 50. I'm trying to think. I don't know exactly how many times I meet someone in person before we list. But if I know they're going to be in town, oh, this is another thing. Sometimes I actually have these nurtures of mine call me and say, hey, I'm going to be in town. I'd like for you to come and take a look. I'm not ready yet. I think maybe in 6 months to a year, but they want to meet me. It's kind of like just gauging me, seeing what kind of person I am. It's just more of like a hangout, and they like show me their property and we just chat. And then I just kind of leave like, okay, well, if you ever need anything from me, let me know. And then I just keep following up with them. And then it's so funny because when they actually call me, it's really just more of like, hey, Adela, I just want you to come over and tell me how much I can get for my house. So a lot of the times it's just like a come list me call. So I don't have a script or a framework. It's just more of talking about the market, talking about what's crazy is because you already nurture and because you already keep them up to date on the market in terms of like what has sold, what's on the market, what's pending. By the time we're both very well informed of what's going on. And so then I've had a lot of owners just like, Adela, just tell me what price I have to list it at. Like they don't even argue like, well, I want this much and my house is worth this much, rah, 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 whatever. They're just like, Adela, what should we list it for? And sometimes I'm like, well, did you have a price in mind? They're like, no, we'll trust you. Like, you know more than me. Like, because I have been updating them. There's this one realtor. He's not really an active realtor anymore. His name is Sean out of Prescott, Arizona. He's kind of retired. He was super successful in circle prospecting back in the heyday and cold calling. And he has mentored a lot of realtors. I don't think he mentors anymore, but he was a guest on, what's it called? I don't know. It was like, he was a guest and he was talking about how when he would get come list me calls on these circle prospects. I would say when you're pleasant for most of the time, and most of the time you circle prospect, people are nice, be cordial, be professional, don't take it personal and don't be offended if they're angry. And I always say, remember, you're in control. Just hang up. I hang up so many times. You probably already seen me hang up. Like, just hang up. Protect your energy, protect your mindset, protect your vibe, because this is a long-term game. And especially if you want to show up for yourself the next day and not be fear of the phone and having conversations with people. When you get someone angry, like, just hang up. 2 hours, 18 contacts, and 1 lead. That's a great day. I decided, you know what, if realtors actually know what I'm doing and what other agents are doing, and we're all being successful, I feel like it shouldn't be a secret. And all you need to get started making calls is just a laptop and a phone. Don't make it confusing. Fancy fails, simple sells. I keep everything in Mojo. I don't really have all these crazy systems.